Right now at 10, another inmate found dead at Wisconsin's oldest prison. The ongoing investigation as Waupun Correctional Institution again comes under fire.
And funding cuts are being made by the Department of Education. How the decision could impact special education throughout the state.
And developing affordable housing in Madison will share the new numbers released by the city. It's all ahead on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson. We begin tonight with a look at your forecast right away. The snow earlier today left a lot of surfaces wet out there.
Yeah, it was a mess out there, and temperatures now dropping. Those spots, of course, could freeze overnight. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington on the weather patio with details on when the ice could melt. Alex.
Yeah, and I'll add the roaring weather patio too. Those gusty winds are very cold out here. Quite a change from those mild temperatures we had 24 hours ago. Let's take a look right now, as Eric and as Sarah was saying, with the temperatures that have been falling throughout the day, all the wet roads and the slush, we are expecting some slick spots. Main roads are pretty good, but sidewalks out here, like out here in the patio, it's icy out there. So be careful on sidewalks, some of those back roads, some of the on-ramps, and some of those off-ramps as well. As temperatures dip on down into the teens to the lower 20s, anything that is water or anything that was in liquid form, it's all going to be ice by tomorrow morning if it is certainly not treated. As we get into the afternoon, to answer the question here, when will things start to melt away? Upper 30s to right around 40 degrees by the time we get into the Thursday afternoon time frame. That should melt those icy surfaces, and we'll get those conditions to improve. We have winds right out here at the tower, all the ice in the tree. You can hear that crackling out here. Wind gusts right now still in excess of 30 miles per hour across a good portion of southern Wisconsin. When will those winds ease on up? And fast forward to temperatures being in the 60s, so a big change. I want to explain what may make those temperatures not quite as warm. Coming up, first to let you know in Maine weather.
All right, Alex, thank you. Next at 10, police say 7 children were left alone in, quote, deplorable conditions. And this happened in downtown Madison. Last Friday, officers were called to an apartment on East Mifflin Street. Police say they were contacted by the children's mother, who was in Illinois. Child Protective Services were brought to the scene. The children have now been placed in the care of a family friend. An investigation is ongoing.
A 6th inmate has died at the Waupun Correctional Institution. The State Department of Corrections offender website says that Damian Evans died yesterday. No other details have been provided at this point. Online court records show that Evans was sentenced in 2019 to 7 years in prison for armed robbery. Evans is the 6th Waupun inmate to have died in custody since June of 2023. Last year, prosecutors charged Warden Randall Hepp with misconduct, along with 8 staff members with felony inmate abuse. A bar fight left a man with serious injuries, and he's fighting for his life tonight. This happened last Saturday at Jerry's Place. The Dane County Sheriff's Office says LaRon Smith Brookins approached a 46-year-old man inside the bar, and the two fought outside moments later, and that fight escalated from fists to a weapon. Smith Brookins is facing 6 charges, including first-degree reckless injury. Well, the New York Times is reporting the IRS is preparing to cut its staff by as much as half. This comes as millions of Americans are filing their tax returns. The agency has already laid off more than 7,000 probationary employees, and that was part of the Trump administration's effort to shrink the size of the federal government. However, it's unclear when the next reported wave of layoffs will take place. It appears the Trump administration is planning to fire more than 70,000 employees at the Department of Veteran Affairs. In a memo, the department chief says that he is working with Elon Musk's Doge to, quote, aggressively restructure the VA. As part of that, the department will aim to revert back to its 2019-era staffing levels. Now, the VA grew significantly under the Biden administration to help implement the PACT Act.
Citing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, the federal government is draining funds from local education programs.
Our Merrill Hubbard shows us which program the UW-Madison will be losing.
Since President Trump took office, the U.S. Department of Education has terminated more than $600 million for teacher training grants. This includes the UW-Madison Teacher Residency Program, or TRP, that aims to address teacher shortages in special education.
I'm working with a past version of myself. I grew up with 2 disabilities and in a resource room.
John Sanger is one of 13 master's students training to be a special educator.
For me, it's like becoming my case manager that I had. I had Mrs. Brugger. I want to be that person for someone else. And I really think that this program is going to give me a real fair shot at doing that.
After their certification, everyone in the program commits to working in Milwaukee Public Schools for at least 3 years.
I'll give them 30 because that's what I'm willing to do for the kids that I'm going to work with.
But now the program is penniless.
There was a similar pattern of getting an email in the evening saying that your grant had been terminated effective that day.
In February, Program Director Kimber Wilkerson, along with her colleagues, received an email from the Department of Education. The email reads in part, quote, "The department's grants do not support programs or organizations that promote or take part in diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI initiatives, or any other initiatives that unlawfully discriminate."
To just change the terms of that arrangement literally overnight feels disruptive.
As for John, he says he doesn't see any, quote, unlawful discrimination.
We are trying to create the best possible human to be in the classroom with these students. That best possible human comes out of merit.
He says there are no shortcuts for his classmates or for his future students.
The standards are maintained because we're working with real kids. These are real students whose lives are actually impacted by what we do every day.
Kimber tells me they're in the process of writing an appeal to the U.S. Department of Education. Their hope is that they're going to be able to continue the program and their efforts to help children with special needs in Milwaukee schools. Reporting in Madison, Meryl Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Meryl. The program director plans to find a way to get all of the currently enrolled students across the finish line to earn their certification.
After a 5-year absence, the Social Change Forum is returning to Madison. The theme for this year's event is Trust and Surrender. Starts tomorrow morning at 8:30, runs till 4 at the Overture Center. Now, the goal is for participants to not only find deeper trust in their skills and talents, but also to surrender to what is being created for them in the process.
We have to strengthen our community bonds more than ever right now. There's no way around it. No matter where you sit in this country right now, we need to deepen our community bonds. And so that's alone why we're coming together this year for the Social Change Forum.
Rhonda Davis from the University of Wisconsin Literacy Link is this year's morning speaker. Ananda de Oliveira Morelli, the co-founder of Nina Collective Cooperative, is the afternoon speaker. More information on the event can be found on the Social Change Forum website, and we have a link to it at channel3000.com.
Well, the city of Madison is providing an update on its plan to make housing more affordable. In February, a total of 245 new homes were completed and are move-in ready. That brings the city's year-to-date total of net new homes to 350. And as the weather improves for the spring and summer, that pace is expected to pick up.
So that's when we expect to see a lot of the progress being made. And you can kind of see too, when say bigger developments come online and are ready for people to move in, you'll see those numbers jump pretty drastically too.
More than 4,300 homes are currently under construction, including 833 that will be affordable at below market rate prices.
A local college putting its own spin on a Broadway classic. Madison College students are preparing for their upcoming production of Cabaret. It explores themes of love, politics, and self-expression. The musical takes place in 1930s Berlin as the Third Reich takes hold. We spoke to the actor portraying the play's antagonist, Ernst, about the challenges that come with being a villain.
It's heavy, especially in today's political climate. But, it's important to bring the character to life, to tell his story.
And the show will run from March 7th through the 15th at Mitby Theater. Tickets are $20 for adults, $13 for seniors and youth under the age of 17.
And coming up on News 3 Now at 10, a severe March storm hits the East Coast.
And 4 Democratic mayors are called to Capitol Hill. The questions they face from lawmakers over their immigration policies.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
And welcome back. The mayors of 4 major U.S. cities were in the hot seat on Capitol Hill today for a hearing about sanctuary cities and policies that limit cooperation with ICE.
The hearing comes as President Trump continues to make the mass deportation of illegal immigrants a cornerstone of his second term. Erica Brown reports from Capitol Hill.
Do you solemnly swear?
The mayors of New York, Denver, Chicago, and Boston testified before a House committee Wednesday where Republican lawmakers railed against so-called sanctuary city laws, which limit local cooperation with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE.
Sanctuary cities make us all less safe and are a public safety nightmare.
Republicans argue the city's policies regarding undocumented immigrants allow dangerous criminals to go free, but the Democratic mayors push back on the idea that their cities are less safe.
A sanctuary city classification does not mean our city will ever be a safe haven for violent criminals.
Migrants did not bring a wave of crime to Denver. In fact, crime went down.
The mayors contend the policies, which are at odds with the Trump administration's mass deportation agenda, are necessary to ensure undocumented immigrants can report crimes and access services without fear.
Those fears cause witnesses and victims to avoid cooperating with police.
A city that's scared is not a city that's safe.
Some Democrats on the committee called out New York City Mayor Eric Adams after the Department of Justice dismissed a corruption case against him, saying the Trump administration is using the mayor for the president's immigration enforcement efforts.
Are you selling out New Yorkers to save yourself from prosecution?
There's no deal, no quid pro quo.
The mayors also used the hearing as an opportunity to call on Congress to fix the nation's broken immigration laws. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And today, President Trump is facing new developments related to many of the accomplishments that he touted during last night's address before a joint session of Congress, a day after the president promised that all drug cartel members in America will be treated like terrorists. Vice President J.D. Vance and the president's national security team toured the southern border. The president also touted new tariffs against China, Canada, and Mexico, but those taxes for cars coming in through the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement have now been paused.
Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors, they requested the call, they made the ask, and the president is happy to do it. It's a 1-month exemption.
Now, the Trump administration also announcing it is pausing the sharing of intelligence information with Ukraine. Ukraine has used U.S. intelligence to help fight the war against Russia from the very beginning.
A near-record March storm hit the East Coast, delivering thunderstorms and fueling wildfires as well. The rain could potentially give an edge to fire teams in North Carolina, where dozens of wildfires continue to burn across the state. Around a half dozen EF1 tornadoes were reported in towns across Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas. There are also several damaging fires across Texas being fueled by high winds.
Sinton is on fire.
They evacuated us because it got real black and like 3 houses caught on fire there where we live at.
The windy conditions also caused widespread power problems. As of this afternoon, 8 states in the Central South and Mid-Atlantic regions were reporting between 10 and 30,000 outages. In Texas, more than 72,000 outages. Now that's down from more than 100,000 yesterday. Back home in southern Wisconsin, all these wet surfaces are freezing overnight.
That's a concern for now, but won't take long for it all to melt. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington has more on when we'll warm up.
We're going to warm up tomorrow, so we just got to get through tonight into the early part of your Thursday. Let's track that with Future Track right now. Starting off in the upper teens to the lower 20s, so frozen surfaces, certainly something that you may wake up to in the morning, but by the time we get into the afternoon, upper 30s to right around 40 degrees, normal for this time of year. The sun will come out, and that will help erase those icy surfaces that we have. But until then, don't let your guard down again because of all the rain and the snow and the slushy roads. Temperatures have been falling all day. We do have reports that there are some slick spots here and there, not on the main travel ways, but on those back roads, those on-ramps, and then of course sidewalks can be pretty sneaky too. So just take it easy this evening, or the rest of the evening, going to the overnight and then into the very beginning part of Thursday, all because of the snow. This is what we've accumulated. You may be wondering, how much did we get? We were saying somewhere in the order of 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches near the Madison area, higher amounts to the north, and that verified here with our snow accumulation estimation. Nothing out there right now on radar 3000. All the snow has since pushed off to the east. We're not expecting any more snow tonight. But what has not left us are the winds. Wind gusts peaking today, 44 miles per hour in Madison, 40 in Viroqua, 40 in the Dells, 44 in Janesville. And we said that these winds would be between 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, so that verified too. Well, when can we get the strong winds out of here? Because it does put that bite in the air. 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts to wake up to tomorrow morning across much of southern Wisconsin. As we put this into motion through the day, notice the colors staying right around 20 miles per hour, 15-mile-per-hour wind gusts, a little bit less to the west towards the Mississippi River, and that will eventually move in as we get into the evening hours. Winds will relax and the winds will be light by the time we get in to Thursday night. Now, we've been talking too that after this set of alert day conditions, we're going to see a nice warm period ahead. That's still the current forecast, looking for temperatures to get up into the lower 60s Monday, Tuesday, maybe lasting into Wednesday. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about this potential warm up because there may be a phenomenon that occurs that actually makes it a little bit cooler than what we're currently forecasting. Again, low 60s Monday and Tuesday, that's the current forecast. 60-degree temps on Wednesday as well, followed by showers and cooler weather after Wednesday. Now, what could make that cooler? This can happen in March and April, sometimes into May. There's some hints with our weather models that a warm front may sit up in the Midwest. Well, you would want that warm front to lift north so we get warm, but that warm front may sit up just to the south, and if it sits up just to the south, we might be on the cooler side with winds coming off of Cold Lake, Michigan, and sometimes that occurs in March and April. So we'll be keeping an eye on our forecast for early next week. Even though right now it looks like 60s will be in the forecast, definitely stay tuned to the First Warn Weather Team. Will be first to let you know if those temperatures will be cooler next week because of that possible warm front setup.
And coming up in sports, John Blackwell willed Wisconsin to another win over Minnesota. How the Badgers got it done at the barn, that's next on News 3 Now. When it comes to Minnesota, they've been Wisconsin's little brother as of late. The Badgers have beaten the Gophers 8 straight times, meaning Minnesota natives Stephen Crowell, Nolan Winter, and Jack Janicki have never lost to their home state, and John Blackwell made sure that streak would continue. Tied at 46 in the second half, and JB went to work. He dials one up from deep to give the Badgers a 3-point lead. Then later, it's Blackwell again, this time with the kiss off the glass. He finished with a game-high 25 points, and he also grabbed 11 boards. And how about Jack Janicki? He put his man in a blender to put this one out of reach and chip a tooth in the process. But the Badgers were all smiles in this one. Wisconsin makes it 9 straight, 74-67, the final. Wisconsin women taking on Iowa in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, and not much went right for the Badgers besides Sarah Williams. The all-conference first-teamer banks home 2 of her game-high 22 points, but this was all Hawkeyes. Former McFarland Spartan Tegan Mullaney gonna bank home the triple. She finished with 5 points, 6 boards, and 2 steals as Wisconsin falls to Iowa for the 31st straight time, 81-54, the final. Well, don't look now, but the Bucks might be playing their best basketball of the year. The Mavs in town tonight, and it was all Giannis and Dame. The duo combined for 66 points, 18 boards, and 7 assists. And Giannis, in the process, joined the 20,000-point club as the Bucks score a season-high 137 and blow out the Mavs. Well, there's no more margin for error now for Mike Hastings and the Badger men's hockey team. It's time for the Big Ten tournament. And Wisconsin opens up a first-round rematch from a year ago. The Badgers will head to Columbus to take on the Buckeyes, who last season came into the Kohl Center and won the best-of-3 series. This time around, the stakes are higher for UW. It's win or their season is done.
Our path's real crystal clear. We've got to win our tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. And so there's really not a lot of, hey, we're wondering what we need to do or we need other people to do work for us. We've got to do our own work. And at this time of the year, it's exciting because you're not looking a long ways away. You're worrying about your today. We've got one weekend that we've got to take care of to be able to survive and move on.
And just a reminder to check out this week's Wisconsin Huddle with Kirsten Sims. Show airs at 6:30 on Friday right here on News 3 Now. Well, life is good if you're Zach Bond. The former Badger went from playing special teams with the Saints to being named first-team All-Pro and a Super Bowl champion with the Eagles. But it gets better for the Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Bond has agreed to a 3-year, $51 million deal, including $34 million guaranteed, to stay in Philly and make him one of the highest paid linebackers in the NFL. We're back after this.
Trump also talked about the rising price of groceries last night, and you'll never guess whose fault it is. What'd I do?
All new CBS tonight.
Well, here's something that might change your mind about mice. Look at these cuties. Long-haired cuties, the product of a Texas bioengineering company. They're the first step in a project to bring back the extinct woolly mammoth.
Using the mouse version of mammoth genes, researchers made a shaggy species that can tolerate the cold. The company says it's a breakthrough in the quest to support biodiversity. The company has plans to engineer other extinct species in the future, including the dodo and the Tasmanian tiger. I mean, what could go wrong, right?
No, but they're cute. People are going to want pet.
This sounds like Jurassic Park waiting to happen. Woolly mammoths, 300 pounds to 3 tons running around the streets.
Now they'll just.
They won't be that cute when they're eating your dog. So just keep that.
Okay.
Let's go to Alex. Final check of the forecast.
They won't eat your dog.
They'll do fine out in this weather when it's cold, right? Let's take a look at the 3 things you really need to get out of the last of our storm impacts. Some slick spots overnight tonight. The icy roads that do exist will melt on Thursday. Winds will ease up later Thursday, so that's all good as well. As we look forward into the 10-day forecast, warming up this weekend, temperatures approaching 60 by the time we get to Monday, if not a little bit above. But we're keeping a close eye on that as to whether or not a warm front sets up in the Midwest that may end up being to the south, and that would mean cooler temperatures. So let's hope that that warm front pushes to the north and gets us into the 60s if you're looking for some spring-like temperatures across southern Wisconsin. And another reminder, join me and others to speaking at the Dark Sky Severe Weather Seminar. That's this Saturday from 8 to 3:30 in the afternoon at Madison College. You get free storm spotter training.
Just about that time of the year.
It is.
Alex, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Have a good night. See you tomorrow.